Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Being profiled today are director Jeffrey Hayden and author Patricia Alexander. Jeffrey Hayden was born and raised in the Bronx. After graduating from Christopher Columbus High School, which he attended with Anne Bancroft and John McGiver, he went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Then in the 50s, he joined Actors Studio. Jeffrey's directed hundreds of TV shows. He's directed and He's directed and produced stage plays and films. Jeffrey, you've earned lots of awards, an Emmy, an AFI, Golden Apple, National Education Association, many drama logs. What was it when you finished Chapel Hill? Was it New York calling you, and how fast did things go?
Not very fast.
Oh, no?
No. Would that they had, but I mean, fast enough. But when I left Chapel Hill, went up to New York to get involved in the theater and to make a living, I got a job at NBC in their radio division, and I was there for 2 years until television came upon the scene. So I guess 2 years isn't too bad.
No, but then you went into TV. It was all live TV. What
All
a training ground.
It was terrific. It was exciting. It was wonderful.
And what were you doing? Everything?
Everything. Well, the first thing I started doing was cleaning out some stables where they had horses, where ABC had bought this stable.
Isn't that amazing?
And the first thing they asked us to do was clean out the stables, which we did. Not a very wholesome job. And then had to whitewash the stalls. And then they threw in some moviolas. We edited film.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then finally we took out some of the partitions and they made small TV studios, live TV.
They didn't have very much confidence in TV to put them in the horse stables, did they?
Well, as it turned out, the riding stable itself was converted into a beautiful, magnificent stage, huge stage. And we did fantastic extravaganzas on that stage in those early days.
That's great.
We did some great shows, too.
What were they?
Well, for instance, we did a show with Don Amici, and Paul Whiteman was the orchestra leader.
Oh, so you had the whole orchestra there?
Yeah, Paul Whiteman's entire orchestra. We did things. My first show that I directed was the roller derby.
So were you really planning to direct, or were you going to be an actor?
No, I was never an actor.
Oh, you never were?
No.
Yeah, but you acted. You act with your wife.
Just recently.
Is that right? After what, 40 years, 30 years?
50 years.
50 years? And what were you doing? Eva Marie Saint and Jeffrey Hayden?
We do love letters.
You do it all the time?
Yeah.
And how do you find a venue?
Well, we go to universities, we go to theaters, we go to community theaters, regional theaters. You know, there's a whole circuit out there.
Did you direct yourself in it?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. See, until I knew you were an actor.
Well, in a manner of speaking, she thinks I'm great. No, it works. It works. Because there's that husband and wife thing in
the letters,
in the nature of the material, and it really works.
That's why I like it. Did you come to LA to do TV when you left New York?
As a matter of fact, after all my New York television, live television, Dory Sherry, who was at MGM, had seen some of my shows, and I came out here to do some more television. Opened CBS TV City at Beverly Boulevard.
Yes.
Did the first show there.
Oh, you did do that. So you.
But Dory Sherry said, "I'd like to meet this young man," and I went to MGM and signed a deal to go to work for MGM as a director.
Oh, so you went right to film?
Spent a couple of years making a picture there.
One of the things that when I was reading your bio, is that you're very interested in American authors. Clifford Odets, Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller,
Eugene O'Neill.
Eugene O'Neill, Neil Simon.
Bill Inge, don't leave Bill Inge out.
William Inge.
Right.
Where did that interest come from? They were all contemporary writers. Was that more like a cutting-edge thing for you to be doing?
Well, I was in New York in the 50s, working in television, and the theater in New York, if you'll remember, in the 1950s, was so exciting with Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, Bill Inge, all these Bob Anderson, all these wonderful playwrights.
Oh, right, Robert
So
Anderson.
yeah, we were, constantly involved with them in one way or another. And well, actually, the first play I ever saw as a child, my mother took me to see Awake and Sing by Clifford Odets.
Oh, so you
and
were...
it never left my something. And so I was always enamored of Odets' work, and I read O'Neill's work and Arthur Miller, and I was lucky enough to get to direct their plays.
So you were directing, did you choose the plays to
Yes.
direct? And then,
Yes.
and what stages were they on?
Well,
Or were they on TV?
No, they were in the theater.
They were in the theater.
Yeah, we would. We played the Kennedy Center. We've played in New York. We played in regional theaters across the country. I've worked at the Cleveland Playhouse. I've worked here in L.A. at the Huntington Hartford in the old days.
What was it that drew you to these contemporary?
Part of my life.
Did you
They
feel
wrote
like
about,
you were?
Yeah, they wrote about situations that I could identify with and that I cared about, like the play we're doing now by August Wilson.
Well, that's what I was
which
going to
is-
go in. He's a contemporary, although he just passed away, but he's a contemporary writer.
Very, very.
But August Wilson writes about the African American.
Yes, but the African American husband and wife relationship is not ultimately that dissimilar from any husband-wife relationship. The play deals with the father's relationship to his son.
You're talking about the play Fences. 'Cause
Yes.
what did he do? He wrote 10 plays or
Yeah, 10 plays.
10 plays, yeah.
Each one a different decade of the
Right.
20th century. This is in the 1950s.
Fences.
Fences is the 1950s, and the basic problem in the play has to deal, among other things, with the father's relationship to his son. Well, that's not black or African American.
No.
That's any father's relationship to his son. So the play deals with things like a marital relationship. It's very funny. It's also very sad. It's very, very powerful. But it deals with issues that are not dissimilar from my experience.
But are you directing black actors?
The best, beautiful, wonderful actors.
So you're saying that it's similar. His writing is about American life.
In this instance, Pittsburgh in the 1950s. But it's totally universal.
But could you make it with white actors, Asian actors,
Yeah.
Latin actors?
Yeah, I would, since August Wilson was himself an African American
Right.
and chose to deal with their peculiar to him experience, I wouldn't mess around with that.
Especially the dialogue. The dialogue is very authentic.
Very, but also very poetical in a very direct, passionate way. The play is running now. We had
At the Odyssey Theater, yes.
yes in West Los Angeles.
And it was running at the Tiffany.
For 6 weeks. From the weekend that we opened, we sold out. Boom. Once the play opened, we sold out for 6 weeks. Had to
But-
extend the run.
You know, people started understanding August Wilson, I think, as he was just at the end of his life, more than they understood him in the beginning.
But that's always the way, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I was like really upset because here he'd written 10 plays. They'd all been published.
Well, and many had been done.
And had been,
done at the regional
produced.
theater. But it is now that people are beginning to wake up to the fact that the plays are so exciting. They're just wonderful, wonderful pieces of drama.
How did you research you said that it's like any lifetime, but there has to be some peculiarities.
Well,
You
certainly
had
the
to
language.
research,
The
right?
language, for instance. There is the patois, so to say.
Yeah.
But it's totally understandable, totally comprehensible. And I did do a lot of research.
In what way?
Well, I got to the internet and I read all about August Wilson's life, and I've been reading all my life books by black authors.
Had you seen many of his plays before?
Yes, several.
So that made a difference.
That helped.
What
My
about-
cast, by the way, of these actors are just extraordinary. They're so talented. And
Had they been in any Wilson plays before?
yeah, all of them.
See, that
all
makes
of
a
them.
difference, doesn't it?
Yes,
Because
it
he
does.
used to come on the set.
That's right. And some of our actors knew him
That's
from,
what-
that, from that experience. And they talk about him, and they revered him. And they're an extraordinarily talented, really wonderful group. Charlie Robinson and Elaine Taylor, who play the mother and father, are just magical on the stage. Magical.
When you direct this play, do you direct it the same way that you've directed other plays?
Yes.
Yes? What's that
Yes.
style?
Well, how can I say?
I don't know. You have to have a style, right?
Well, I do. I think I do. But see, all of these actors were people I knew at the Actors Studio
Which you were a member of and which you
and have been involved with since the 50s.
which you really support,
So
right?
we all have a language that we understand.
Uh-huh.
We're all very compatible, very simpatico with one another, and it makes it very exciting to work with people who deal with the excitement of the drama in the same way that I deal with it. And so we're able to, kind of working together, really develop a lot of laughs.
Is it?
Oh,
You
yeah.
mean while you're rehearsing?
No,
Or during
in
the play?
Oh,
you
yeah,
do?
in the play. Oh, yeah. It's a very funny play. And then, however, it takes a turn, and it becomes quite a serious drama.
Do you approach directing TV the same way that you
No.
do stage?
Not at all.
Isn't that interesting? Because yeah, go on.
Television is time is money. In television, it's tick-tock, tick-tock, go, 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 go. Shoot so many pages a day, so many days, finish the show. In the theater, you have the luxury of taking time. The creative process needs time, And in the
That's
theater,
true.
you can do that. You work for weeks on scenes, and then you do the play, and you keep working on the play. We've done the play for 6 weeks at the Tiffany,
Right.
which is sadly being torn down.
I know.
Welcome to L.A.
Oh, I know.
This
It's
beautiful, beautiful theaters going. So that's why we moved to the Odyssey on Sepulveda Boulevard, which is kind of nice because there's plenty of parking,
Yeah.
which is wonderful at
Right.
the Odyssey. And it's a terrific space, wonderful theater. But we have time. So here we are, 6 weeks into the run, and we're still finding things.
Do you still change? Do you go every night?
I don't go every night,
you
but
go
I go.
enough to
Yeah,
keep it-
Sure, I go in.
Do directors ever retire?
Not this one. Not this one. I hold George Abbott out there as my.
I know.
as
How
my
old was
mentor.
he?
100 and something,
Yeah.
over 100, and still working.
See, you don't need to retire, do you?
Oh no, you bet. That's not for me.
What's been the most fulfilling part of directing for you?
So far, this play.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Well, I hope my wife isn't offended because we've done some great things together.
I was going to ask, do you work
Yes.
with her a lot?
Yeah, we have. Oh, in the
Do you
theater.
direct her?
In the theater,
Yeah.
a lot.
You
oh,
do?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And we've had some wonderful experiences together with companies. We would, years ago, we would start a play in the summer theater circuit, which we used to do back east in New England. And Roger Stevens at the Kennedy Center would see it, take us down to the Kennedy Center. We would then go to Florida. We would then go back to New York. Then we would go across the country. We did Summer and Smoke for almost a year, ending up at the Huntington Hartford.
Oh, I remember that.
That was a
That's
wonderful
right. But I didn't know you then. I just knew you were a
That's
great
true.
saint.
That's true. That's true.
But I thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure.
And we thank you for watching this part of the show. And don't go away. We'll be right back with author Patricia Alexander. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Patricia Alexander was born and raised in Los Angeles. She went from Fairfax High School to UC Irvine, where she studied acting and worked in communications and community theater in Santa Barbara. Patricia co-wrote The Book of Comforts with cancer survivor Michael Burgos, who is a marriage and family therapist. Up to this point, she enjoyed a long career as a writer, journalist, editor, marketing coach, motivational speaker, and humorist. I guess you had to know about humor to accomplish all those things. Where did you start?
Well, I probably started at home in my own house, being an actress and a speaker, and being an overweight child as well.
Oh, you were, because you were, I think that was so great that you were the ambassador for a big weight loss organization. Were you kind of like Christy Brinkley and Sarah Ferguson?
Oh, Christy Alexander. No, you know, I not that quite like that.
Not quite like that.
The organization that I lost my weight with, if the press calls and wants to talk to somebody, they get to talk to me.
Oh, is that what it was? Still you do that?
Yes, I do. I still do it.
Oh, you do. I'm going to show this side because this shows you.
I rolled out of the womb plump. You can see that right there.
Let's go. And then you actually keep your weight off.
Well, you know, I do with a lot of healthy lifestyle and monitoring and accountability.
And it was Weight Watchers, did you say?
Yes, it was.
I mean, it is Weight Watchers, yeah, because there's so many different kinds. But once you got through all of this, and you were acting community theater, acting at home, you were writing segments for ABC's Good Morning America.
Well, my first writing job, I had a Cinderella story. I was in the right place at the right time. I had just left acting because I decided I wasn't any threat to Katharine Hepburn.
Oh yeah, she didn't care, right?
Well, if I couldn't be a threat to her, I didn't want to stay in acting.
Okay.
And I got this job as a junior reporter for Rona when she was working on Good Morning America, Rona Barrett.
So that was Rona Barrett. Did you help her write her book?
No.
Oh, okay, so you were just writing the TV segments?
I was on her staff, and we helped to draft the two segments that she did.
It was interesting talking about being on her staff because it always looked like she did everything herself. It was always so easy.
Well, she was certainly the motor.
She was the motor.
She was the motor, and I learned so much. What was really interesting is I learned a lot about healthy self-comforting during that extremely stressful time that I worked for her. I was only 23, and I worked for her for 1 year, and all of my previous training had been as an actor, not a journalist. So I kept expecting to fail. And I learned so much, but when you learn that quickly, it hurts your brain.
Too much, so you couldn't write your book of comforts till way later. Is
way
that
later,
right?
not till
we'll talk
way
about
later.
That. But on the way there, you had all these different careers, and it seems to me that they would all kind of feed into each other. Like a PR person could write a columnist, and one thing after another,
it's
right?
It's true. You know, just when I think I've conquered a certain area, life puts me into a whole new area. Oh, you know how to do that? Well, then try this. And it's been challenging and wonderful because I have this really low threshold for boredom, Joan.
Yeah, oh God.
But it all prepared me for, as you said, for it to all come together, for me to be able to write this book that has so much meaning to me and to my sweetheart, Michael Burgos.
But everything had worked together to that point.
Yes.
And I like that you said the Book of Comfort is like your, the second part, your second career on the second part of your life.
Yes, the second.
Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. I will tell the whole world right now, I'm 53 years old, and this is the second half of my life because I intend to live to be 100.
So how did you start? And did you have Michael Burgos as a co-writer when you started?
Yes, well, Michael Burgos and I are sweethearts, and he is a wonderful, unusual, terrific person, and I think that we get put with the right person who takes us to places we otherwise wouldn't go. And one of the things that we noticed about ourselves is that we naturally tended to do healthy activities that were a comfort to us, and for different reasons.
How did you meet? Did you meet in that kind of a situation?
Well, we We actually met when we were being baptized in the ocean by our church, but we'd never met before.
Oh, that's
so I was
great.
wearing a wetsuit, and he approached me wearing a wetsuit and said, "Is this the place?"
Oh, that was great.
I know, it's kind of a cute meat story.
So we talk about your co-writer. Now we talk about the illustrator for this book, and who the illustrator is.
A woman named Dean Andrews, who is an incredible fine artist, who has been a friend of mine for many, many years, although we had never collaborated. She had joined a writing support group that I had led, and she is so talented that she writes and paints.
So she did these backgrounds.
Yes.
And one of her pieces is on the set.
Yes.
And so every page that has something comforting to learn about has a background by
Dean Andrews.
And
And this original art is so interesting because it's 1-inch plexiglass.
I know, it's so heavy.
But it's her view of the sky as though through an airplane window. And I keep this one, this is her Strata series, I own this one, I'm so happy I do, because I keep it in a window where light can come through it, and as the light changes, the art changes.
Oh, I see.
But what was really important about it was that we thought that a book about healthy self-comforting techniques should be a comfort to look at.
Oh, and it is. It is. It's very soothing.
I'm glad you like it.
So when you describe comfort, I always think of something delicious to eat,
Yes.
something cushy, something like not really putting yourself into a zone like you describe. So do all people find comfort in the same way?
You know, I think that people find comfort consciously or unconsciously, but either way, we naturally do seek comfort. And the question is whether the comfort is ultimately going to have a repercussion. If the comfort is if we always look for something that's instantaneous. Comfort me
Yes,
now,
right.
this minute.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that can lead us to comfort ourselves with too much of anything. I always say fill in the blank, too much, sleep, food, sex, exercise,
That's
sleep.
not comfort? That's not comfort?
Well, it is if there's no repercussions.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
how do you know how to pinpoint what's a good comfort for someone?
if it is enduring and brings you a sense of peace and serenity and helps you grow and evolve as a person, and if nothing else, just because you're getting proper rest and of your spirit.
Oh, more than that, because our world is so frantic. I mean, and it's hard to like say we want comfort for more than 5 minutes. And maybe some people don't want comfort. Has that happened too to
You know,
you?
one of the elements of our book is a survey. We've taken a survey of people from different walks of life in their own writing, saying what they do to comfort themselves. And this one answer I just loved. It was from a man, a businessman, who said very simply, "I think you've hit upon my problem."
And what was it?
That he didn't have a clue how he comforted himself.
How to comfort
It
himself.
had never occurred to him. But the thing is, we really will seek it. And eventually, if we don't give it to ourselves consciously, we will give it to ourselves in an unconscious manner that will have these, what I call, will be toxic comfort, and ultimately we still need to be comforted.
So whether we want it or not?
Whether we want it or not, it comes with the instructions for the Earth suit only. None of us got those instructions.
Oh, I see, I see. How easy is it to find comfort? What rules should people follow?
Well, I think the no repercussion rule is an important one.
Okay.
I think that one thing that's very...
No repercussion means it's not affecting other people?
or having a negative result for you ultimately.
I see, okay.
Anything could be harmless in and of itself. I play a computer game every now and then, but I don't play it for 8 hours.
I see. Because that's harmful.
Because that is harmful.
I
That
think.
that ends up being an addictive, harmful behavior.
Does attitude make a difference when you're searching?
Oh yes, I'll have the hubris to quote myself. One of the quotes in the book is me saying, "Seekers are finders." If you have the attitude to seek, then it's just a matter of time before you find. So having that attitude is wonderful because you're so receptive. Now that said, if you're not seeking, then eventually you will crash and burn, and then you get really receptive.
Because you're on the bottom.
You're on the bottom and you know you need comfort. So the idea is to be proactive if you can.
Are there different ways to talk about comfort? I mean, I think comfort maybe is not the whole part of this book. There's a lot of underlying things in this book.
Well, you know, we've divided it into 3 sections: spirit, body, and soul. And we define those as your intellect, your body, and your essence.
And what you're doing with it, I guess.
And that we're saying that you need to comfort all 3 areas. If you don't, it's like having a 3-room house where you only maintain 1 room.
Could you say, instead of comforting, nurturing?
Absolutely.
Same
Nurturing's
thing?
a wonderful word.
How do you inspire the reader? Because you want the reader to look for comfort, to look for being inspired, to be nurtured. You say stop and eat nutritional food. Does that have anything to do with what you're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. Under the body section and self-care, do good self-care. It seems like such a simple thing to say, to feed yourself nutritional food.
That's what I'm saying.
But so many people don't do it.
Oh.
So many people don't do it. Because as a Weight Watchers leader, I can tell you that a lot of times people who take wonderful care of their grandchildren or their children or even an elderly person is right on top of feeding them nutritional food and on a regular basis, won't do it for themselves.
And then what about, one thing before we leave, soak the stress away.
Oh, yes.
Yes?
So many people forget that they have a no-cost shower and bathtub in their own home. And one of the things about the shower, because I know men aren't that big on baths, but one of the things about the shower is people get so busy accomplishing things there, they forget that they can just dim the lights, light a candle, put on some music, and enjoy the shower in a way that feels like you're at a spa.
When you listen to Dr. Laura on the radio, she'll say, okay, stop, go take a bath. And then so when I was reading your book, I thought, and she says, go take a shower. And you explained why, and to just take some time.
Yes, time, and giving ourselves the right to have time, and understanding that time is an element that nurtures and comforts us. Give yourself, one of the chapters says, schedule private time, schedule alone time, because if we don't, then by accident we don't often have it.
Put it on your calendar?
Exactly.
Really?
Or make it, yes, and honor it.
Oh, that's great.
I wake up a half hour earlier than I need to every morning now just to have that alone time.
Oh, thanks for coming and seeing us. Taking away from your alone time. Thank you so much, Patricia.
My pleasure.
And thank you for bringing your book. And it is, as you look through the beautiful paintings that Dean Andrews has done, I think it takes away a lot and gives us something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. We'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.